I'm all about that bass, but that bass. It's funny, right? Because as soon as I hung up with you, the first thing I did, I just grabbed the book and I start reading. I just can't put that shit down no more, which sucks. Because like, yeah, I definitely gotta grab some of these books and send it to you guys over there.
Yeah, that's fine. Just be careful not to let that distract you from your plans and everything that you need to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, don't worry, it won't.
Okay. Although I don't blame you for taking it easy right now because you know you're starting your new job soon. So
Exactly. So once I'm on the road, man, I'm gonna start hustling like crazy.
yeah, you say that now, but
I don't have any choice but to, you know.
yeah.
All right. So, what's up, everybody? Art Banaka here. Welcome to my channel. And today I have with me SyriEyes. How you doing,
Yeah.
SyriEyes?
I'm good.
You good? Chilling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always, even when I'm not doing too good, I'm good.
Yeah. How was your Christmas? How was your Christmas without me?
Oh, it sucked.
Yeah. Mine was all right. Could have been better though.
Yeah.
I should have I should have it in Poland. I should have definitely stayed there in Poland for the last.
Yeah, but that would have been hard.
That's true. It would have been hard, and then I had to come back to actually get my CDL and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just glad we finally had a chance to spend your birthday together.
Hell yeah! I know I kept missing that shit.
Just need the history, and we'd be good.
Definitely. But yeah, so
are you on?
I'm actually on right now. Yes, I am on.
On everything because I don't see the live button that I normally see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the live button right now, so we're on.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're on private?
Yeah, I'm on private. I hope so. I mean,
were you on private last time? Double check.
Yeah, last time I was on private.
Okay.
I was on private last time, yeah. So, all right. But anyways, so this subject about a lot of time, right? When I come across certain channels that when all the foreigners speak on American culture, and they usually get met with the backlash of mind your business, you shouldn't be speaking on our speaking on our issues and so on and so forth, and which now that kind of brings me to this, like, can foreigners actually have a say when it comes to American culture or American issues? And if they can't, why not? Like, what do you think of that perspective?
Oh.
Is it a fair argument?
No. I mean, it's a deflection. It's a deflection. It's an excuse of why I don't want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
And just like you have the freedom to voice your opinion on everything, so do I have the freedom to voice my opinion on everything. And just because it offends you doesn't mean I need to shut the fuck up.
Fair point.
Because then we're infringing on freedoms, and it's a fine line. But yeah, everyone has a right to their opinion.
Mm. Well, because see, like, one of the things I usually find is that, like you stated, there's sometimes when you actually try to sugarcoat things, when you try to actually share your observation upon a culture, then it's either like it's not heard, it's completely ignored, or use that deflection method. But then again, when you actually just hit in the net, hit the nail on the head, you use, like, you hammer that shit in, and that's when you actually met with extreme opposition, with extreme anger, such as, for example, as a Haitian, when I speak on African American culture, then I am viewed as, like, I have no right to speak on it, and therefore, then, because of what their ancestors have done in the past, now gave me the freedom to actually be here in the States to talk shit about them. you know, and which is I kind of like find it kind of comical because it's like, yes, your ancestors had suffered through a great deal to actually give you the opportunity to which you can now actually be in this country and still feeling oppressed. And now the thing about it though is like I kind of feel, well, what are you doing with the suffering of your ancestors? What have you put into good use? Or are you going to continue to actually use their suffering as a clutch, so to which now you have the excuse not to actually move forward, you know, and actually tackle on the new opposition that you have, because opposition is always going to continue,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Well,
that's my opinion on it.
Okay, I can speak from my experience that, like, as a Polish person with the history of Poland, you know, I'm not going to go into all the details of that. I feel like if I was to just freeze in my life and blame everything around me for, or the suffering my ancestors went through for, my inability to get anywhere in life, I think my ancestors, you know, that would be an insult to them. It would be an insult to what they fought for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I know for a fact that even though life isn't perfect, even though there's still things to be done, where we are is part of the thing. Where I am currently is part of the freedoms that my grandparents and great grandparents and ancestors have fought to gain for me. And me complaining about how bad it is right now and nobody understands how bad it is, nobody understands the suffering I'm going through, is insulting to them.
Mm.
The reason I say it's insulting to them is because if I was to fight in the war and to help free my people, if I was to fight to abolish certain injustices, so my progeny could live a healthier, better life, and then I'm sitting in the sky or in the ground or whatever, you know, if I was to see my progeny complain rather than pick themselves up, but sit there and complain about it and only point, you know, act the victim. If I was to see my progeny act the victim, I would just, you know, turn into a ghost and slap them.
Mm.
Because being a victim doesn't do anything for you. It's not powerful. It seems powerful on the internet, but in real life, it's not powerful. It's a weakness. It's a weak position. You know, and I understand the whole concept of Stockholm syndrome and learned helplessness, but you know, in order to combat learned helplessness, you have to learn to help yourself. And that's not easy, but I'm getting sidetracked. The whole thing is I'd rather look for similarities between me and the strangers I meet than focus on the differences. Is hearing the truth harsh? Yes, it is. Does it hurt? Yeah, everyone knows truth hurts. You know, it pierces through like an arrow. So it's expected for you to get offended. It's expected for you to get, you know, to get angry. But that anger is there to drive you forward. It's not there to make you immovable.
Well,
if you become immovable and you refuse to change, that's on you.
Why do you think it's important for foreigners to actually voice out their opinion on their own perspective when it comes to Americans?
To voice it out is because
to share their opinion.
A lot of times it's easier to see what's happening when you're outside of the belly of the beast. That's why we seek you know, opinions from others. A lot of people say they want advice, but they don't ever go seek it. And when advice is handed to you, you never take it. Mm-hmm. So me voicing an opinion is just that. It's me speaking on what I observe and what I see. Everyone has the right to do that. Now it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. I'm not forcing it down your throat. If you don't like listening to it, you can walk away.
See, the reason why I think it is important is because, all right, when I'm in the states, when I'm in the state, there's this huge divide between Black America and White America, and
Well, perceived divide.
and hold on, and then you have the Hispanics that like kind of sprinkle all throughout. That's like the middle bridge type. But as a foreigner looking in, like we see so much similarities between all these groups, the character traits and all that stuff, and therefore when it's like if nobody points it out, it kind of feels like we are being hypocrites to the charade that's going on with, oh, I'm different than you. No, you're different than me. I mean, there are differences, but at the same time, the refusal to acknowledge the similar traits is like it's kind of like it's the hypocrisy that as foreigners we don't like. Like for example, when I come across African American outside of the states, they don't see themselves as African American. They see themselves as American
They
because
see themselves as American, yeah.
they actually now reap the benefit of what it is to be American. And then case in point, when African American when they go to DR and then when they get mistreated, they we know one of the thing that they usually brought up is that like, well, maybe it is because you look too Haitian. But wait a minute, brother. I thought as long as you black, that's all that matter. But now you want to make that distinction that no, you're not Haitian. I mean, or you don't look Haitian or whatsoever. You know, you're American. So you want to actually use that American card and oh, I don't know, maybe to get bitches, maybe to actually have, be treated better, to have that chip on your shoulder that you are American. But once you're in the state now, then that's when you actually want to make the claim that you are a victim. And then which is to other foreigners when they're looking at it from the outside looking in, they're like, you motherfucker. You know? And that's the part I guess that kind of not irritates us, but it's like it's too obvious to us as foreigners. And when we point it out, then that's when we actually get met with the backlash, as in like, who the fuck are you to talk about our issues?
It's very narcissistic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is somewhat narcissistic.
It's what the world calls the American exceptionalism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like there's this whole victim mindset in the West where there's power that can be found in victimhood.
Yes.
You know?
But only in great numbers.
What'd you say?
Only in great numbers.
Only in great numbers.
Because when it's one victim, it's a weakness. Yeah. Great number. You connect with other victims and you build. You know that meme that they had like in like the late in 2010, where it was like fish. The school of fish was trying to come for the shark.
Yep.
Yeah, the school of fish. That's the only way that victimhood works is if it's grouped. That's why you need movement, huge movement. Otherwise, one victim just doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
But when you have a million victims, then all of a sudden you feel this great power because anytime somebody comes at you, you can send that group against them. Mm-hmm. But like, look at how great I am.
Cause see,
my suffering.
I'm in a bit of a predicament.
Yeah.
Seriously. The predicament is this, right? It's very hard to pinpoint me into a group.
Yeah.
Because like I like to see people as individuals. Yeah. And I try to judge their action not based on like a group, but more like put it this way, right? If I see like a swirler making a videos bashing black people, I would address it like I have before. And if I see a black person making comment that's derogatory towards white people, I will also address it. So then usually those some of the critiques that I usually have when I actually address all these different ideologies. And it's either like like for example, when I addressed the situation with Buckethead, and some of the a comment section was that like, well, you know, you'd stick enough for black women, but they would actually turn around and betray you. And I'm like, well, I'm not looking for any sympathy from any type of group. To
You
me,
stand on 2 feet.
yeah, I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet and be able to actually point out what I think is actually wrong about a certain situation. And I also hope that anybody would have the courage to actually stand up for what they believe that I said that's wrong, to actually challenge my perspective as well. You
Mind
know?
if I interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing. This is the question that nobody asks. Is it powerful when you need a group of thousands behind you to do what you want, or is it more powerful to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and say what you want to say with conviction, regardless whether you're standing alone or standing with a group? What's power?
Well, I think it's like the concept of no man's an island. So I understand the group dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that part where you actually need to actually to the sense of belonging. But at the same time, I believe that you should make your own tribe. You should, you know, like a weak leader.
But do you need? Okay, you didn't understand my question. I totally get you, but I think we're not talking about building and belonging. We're talking about opinion and opinion backing and validation.
Yep.
Do you need, because that's one thing I have noticed, especially on social media, like places like YouTube. A lot of people feel the need to get validation from a group in order for their opinion to matter. But that's not power. Power is being able to say what you feel. Well, fuck what you feel. Say what your opinion is, whether you have the backing of a group or you don't.
Good point.
You know?
To me, I believe that you should try to say what you perceive as truth,
Yeah.
and
Well, the
also
truth stands alone.
yeah, and be open minded to actually accept the criticism that comes towards it. And sometimes the criticism are not gonna be always pretty, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes criticism are not criticism at all. They're nothing but bashing.
But a
But
lot of times you just hear the community won't accept you, and it's like, well, has anybody ever asked, will I accept the community? Because a lot of times the community is a group of people that does, all right, in a group of people, whether it's society or it's a class or it's just a group of friends, in a group of people, what tends to happen is we tend to follow the dumbest ideas, right? It's the group think. The group tends to do the dumbest, follow the one with the dumbest idea because they're the most charismatic. So they follow the charismatic personality. So power lies in being able to say no. You're wrong. I will not follow you because you are wrong. And that's how you change society, is by being able to say no. I will not follow that mentality. So when someone says the community won't accept you or the group won't accept you, you won't be accepted, you will be ostracized. It's like, that's actually a fucking good thing if the group is down a slippery slope of destruction.
mm,
A good thing. That also means that if you are willing to say what you have to say, even if you become ostracized from the group, that's power. And that's what a lot of people are lacking. Because
see,
too many need validation from other people.
I also think that with that type of mindset, then it also give courage to those who actually really wanted to stand out for themselves. Now they feel like, okay, I can actually be my own individual as well.
Yes.
You know, and it's that fear of like, there's always this fear, this boogeyman. Well, if you step out of line, then who's gonna protect you?
Yes.
Like,
But protect me anyway.
protect me from what?
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, let's say that, okay, if you're in an interracial relationship, then you have to worry about white and black people, or they say you have to worry about them. Or if you are in a a black relationship, you have to worry about white people, or if you're in a white relationship, you have to worry about black people. And it's like, dude, there's fucked up people everywhere.
If I spend my entire life worrying about being hurt by somebody else's opinions, the first thing I would do is turn off the internet.
Hmm.
Because the internet anonymity gives people the balls to say what they really think.
Yeah.
In hateful a manner as they possibly can, because it's that reaction that they're looking for. So if you're really that scared of opinion, step the fuck back from the internet. Otherwise, toughen up, buttercup.
Like, I see it as this whole God complex, to which when you try to create the world onto your image, whereas like you want everybody in the world to think like you, to act like you, to behave like you, so therefore you feel like your insecurity can actually be null and void. It's kind of like this, right? Let's say that you see a pretty chick, posting like thousands of selfies online, and then have like a group of simp telling her like, oh my god, you beautiful, you this, you that, and she ignored it all. But that one person that might not even actually say anything wrong, that might say like, yeah, she's all right, that one comment would actually drive her nuts,
Mm-hmm.
because it's that little voice in her head that also let her know like, listen, all these guys, they don't really care about that, right? So then what else you have to offer? So when somebody else posed that question, which actually state out loud her own insecurity, then that drive her insane.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing when people
It
that,
doesn't insane.
yeah,
It's not insane. It shatters the illusion.
exactly, it does. So it's like when you have like a person that has like a group of following, and that's always, yes sir, all good video sir, this and that. But when someone point out with the opposite views, they actually point out the fallacies of your argument, then
They're
it's,
hate.
yeah, exactly, you know
They can't possibly think that way. They're just being haters.
yeah.
Uh-huh. It's the positive feedback loop. You get lost in the feedback, and just because you have a whole bunch of people clapping you on doesn't mean you are right.
Mm, yeah. So then technically, the say of as a foreigner should not have an opinion on African American or American as a whole issues, then that's a cop out.
Yes, it's a I had a word for it. It's a deflection. They're deflecting.
Hmm.
They don't want to face what the person is saying, so they are deflecting it. It's like when we're having an argument, and all of a sudden I attack your look.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're having an intellectual argument about some intellectual shit, and all of a sudden I turn around and say, well, you look like a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
That's a deflection. That's me saying I have no valid points to make, therefore I'm attacking your view, your looks. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. If someone's saying something, sharing an opinion about, a subject matter, whether it's Americans, it's African Americans, behavior, or foreign policy, whatever you want to choose, whatever topic matter you want to choose, and all of a sudden they say, well, mind your own business. That's none of your business. That's a deflection. That's saying you don't have a counter argument.
Hmm.
Therefore, you're actually making my argument more valid.
Speaking of which, what's funny? The fact that like everything that we just said right now, it doesn't matter, because what's gonna be used, anybody who's actually gonna have a suggestions about this video, well, not everybody, but the most of actually a lot of people
Know which one you're gonna cling on.
they're gonna use the example that you gave, which is I look like a monkey.
Yep.
Nothing else gonna matter.
Right? They're gonna. That's lacking critical thinking skills.
Yep.
That's not being able to deduce this topic and the subject that's being spoken about and actually thinking about it properly. They just find one sentence, zoom in, and are incapable of thinking about anything else but that.
Hmm.
That also is a deflection.
Oh yeah.
And makes their argument, whatever it may be, invalid. Maybe I should have tagged the size of your penis instead. Would that have been better? Would that be more, would that be less racist and more in, right? It's an example, ladies and gentlemen, okay? If you're still listening, because I know once you hear the monkey part, all of a sudden it gets turned off. If you're listening, it was an example. When somebody provides an example, doesn't mean that is what they believe. It is simply an example of what can happen.
Shit, I forgot what question I was going to ask you.
Critical thinking skills. And I blame the school system. The school system should have taught that. That's how you know that the school system is not educating the kids properly, because critical thinking skills is something you should have learned by the age of 13.
It's not, I can't blame the school system.
I do, because it's simple to do. All you have to do is give them a fucking article to read and then ask questions about that article.
No, but listen, this is why I cannot blame the school system, right? Because the institution that we have in our society is a reflection of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So then to blame the school system...
No, it's a snake eating its own tail. You don't know what came first.
To blame the school system is also to blame ourselves. To blame the family dynamic that we have is also a way to blame ourselves. Speaking of family dynamic, that is now a very hot topic when it comes to American cultures and American issues. So what are some of the perspective of foreigners when it comes to relationships in American culture?
It's a throwaway culture. Just there is no such thing as love. There is use and usage. The way that Americans describe love is, how can I use you?
Mm.
And then when I can no longer use you, you are disposable. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to most other cultures. Most Eastern cultures, the whole concept that the West has of disposable people doesn't make sense. Because even though it's actually spreading to the rest of the world, it's like a disease. It's spreading to the rest of the world because we're, it's very materialistic right now. Love is not about use. This whole thing, what do you bring to the table? A fucking plate of food? You bought the food, I made the food, we eat the food. Isn't that how the hell it goes? It's about, working together and all that stuff. It's not about how can I use you? That is very narcissistic and psychopathic. And I find that kind of mentality is very destructive to a society as a whole. Because if you only have a partner, if your connection with your partner is how can I use you, whether it's sexual, materialistic, either way, emotional. Women tend to use emotionally. How can I use you teaches the children that the other person isn't necessary, because if I can use you, I can use something else instead. Everything is replaceable. A CD player became replaceable by an MP3 player, which became replaceable by a cell phone. And that is exactly what's happening to partners. Why are people searching for an emotional connection with people online instead of the person they're sitting right next to? Because the person they're sitting right next to, that's sitting right next to them, doesn't want to have anything to do with them. How can you spend 10 years in the same house as someone that you hate? That's the stuff I don't understand. That's a mentality I don't understand. Like in my society, I grew up watching how, you make your bed, you lie in it, right? Mm-hmm. But then you're really careful about the whole concept, the whole Western concept. I'm kind of going all over the place, jumping from one point to the next. Sorry, that's how my mind works.
Yeah, go ahead.
That the concept of we're not friends is a Western mentality. Here in Poland, most couples married their best friend. They grow up together, they go to school together, they hang out together, and then they realize, shit, fuck it, let's get married. But in the States, like, you can't marry your best friend. Why the hell not? That makes no sense. Why not? Oh, because they're your friends, they're like your sister. No, they're like your wife with whom you live like you do with your sister. The only difference is you actually fuck them. Well, let's not get into the whole incest concept. That's a whole nother The worms right there.
Before you go too deep through the rabbit hole, uh,
Yeah.
the last one of the podcasts that we had together when you actually were just going, I don't know, you were just rambling.
I was ranting because I was just, just ranting. It wasn't intended to be a podcast. It wasn't intended to be anything serious. It was just like an old person screaming at the TV. It was entertainment. That's it.
And yeah, part of it's my fault too because your ass didn't even know I was recording that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And until later on, when you was like almost at the end, and then you were able to like. So now that you could actually have a more of a collective thought, this is what I actually gather from what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me on that.
Got something out of all that.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the backlash that we've had, because another YouTuber posted that podcast on his channel, and then I was able to read some of the comments, and they were actually quite entertaining. But
Just as entertaining as my squeaky rant.
your squeaky went and me giggling in the background like a schoolgirl. So, but what I got out of it and what they did not understand, maybe because I know you well enough to know what you mean. And
Yeah.
what I got out of it was this. Um, you have to be careful of who you choose as a partner, right? The whole fucking around culture is very destructive, and which is what got us in the state that we are right now. So then, therefore, do your best you can to actually, be selective with your dick. And once you find that girl, once you find that woman that, okay, she's, let's say that she's crazy, right? You end up making the mistake of actually impregnating a crazy chick.
A
So
lot of men do because in the African American culture, it's this concept of she
crazy,
crazy, she must be good fuck.
yeah, the crazier she is, the crazier she can ride your dick, type of shit, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now what you were saying was this, right? So don't impregnate the crazy ones or those that's gonna be bad for you, that are not good wife or good mother material. But in case you happen to do, so you could either like sacrifice your own happiness in order to actually work with that crazy bitch and raise your kid,
Mm-hmm.
or you actually do everything in your power to actually take your kid out of that environment. And
It's really as crazy as you say, yeah. A
if
lot of times men say a woman is crazy, but that's psychopathic excuse. She's
yeah,
not crazy; it's his behavior that makes her act crazy. Yeah.
so now a lot of the backlash was based on actually that concept which you stated, and then none of that other shit that you said matter, but except that little keynote plus your screechy voice was all the focus that they needed to
Which
actually.
part? So when I said just take the kid away from the woman,
No, not take the kid away from the woman, but more likely, deal with,
control your penis.
yeah, deal with the crazy bitch, basically.
Oh, with the crazy bitch. Well, you made your bed, you lie in it. It's, if you don't deal with her, your kid will.
Mm-hmm.
Twice hard because not only is your kid dealing with a crazy bitch, your kid is dealing with a crazy bitch who hates your guts and wants to hurt you. How is she going to hurt you if not go through the child? How can she hurt you? The most and the worst is to hurt your child. And if she really is as crazy as you say she is, then that's exactly what she's going to do, whether it's physical or psychological. And then that's perpetuating the same cycle because that child's going to grow up thinking that is normal. And you allowed it. That's the thing that men don't understand. Men like to talk about, the choices. The woman gets to choose who she's fucking and who she has kids with. Yeah, so do you. It takes two to tango. The child didn't make itself, right? So when you allow a crazy woman to stay with a child and you're not, and she doesn't have you to take her frustration out on, she's going to take it out on your child. So what I said by deal with the crazy bitch is sacrifice yourself for the future generations of your community. So that way you are the punching bag, not your child, because you already made the choice to fuck her and produce with her.
Mm.
It's
Okay, well, I gotta play devil's advocate for a minute though. Um, a lot of men would say that, well, I didn't know she was crazy, you know, So then, what are some of the discernment that a man can use to actually be able to? Because I know a lot of them are bullshitting, right? Because if you met the, you met the bitch at the club, she was twerking on you the first night, you hitting that, all that shit. So there's some crazy aspect to her already, which is what attracted you in the first place. But now, some women do not show their craziness until after the child is born.
That's true.
So then, how could one now able to actually avoid that kind of catastrophe?
Protect your dick by putting a condom on and pulling out. I know a lot of people like to say you don't know who the woman is until you get her pregnant. And a lot of women like to say you don't know who the man is until you're pregnant. The problem arises in the West is that a lot of times y'all get pregnant within 2 months. Okay, I'm not saying don't have sex. I know the West likes to think of sex as this fun thing, but sex is reproduction. So I can't preach abstinence because I wouldn't follow it my damn self. So what I can preach is protection. I'm not talking about abortion because I don't believe in abortion, but there's ways to protect yourself. Let the man nut in your mouth, okay? I'm sorry, let's get fucking done. Let's get serious now, right? Put a condom on, pull out. There is ways to do these things without actually having babies. Babies should be a planned thing. Now, do accidents happen? Yes, but not 5 times in a row, sweetheart. If you have 5 kids, whether you're male or female, if you have 5 kids, you're not protecting yourself properly. If you're not protecting yourself properly, you're leaving yourself open to crazy.
So this is one of the things I usually think, right?
Hey, let's go into war. I have a gun, but they forget about armor. I don't need armor because I have a gun.
Listen to this, right? All right. This is what I usually see. This is my problem with this whole concept of, men and shit, women and shit, right? And because I remember I shared a video not too long ago.
Shit.
Yeah, I shared a video with you not too long ago about this girl crying. I forgot the name of the title, but you know what I'm talking about, right? This chick, she was crying because she felt like, okay, she followed this guy,
Nature Boy.
Yeah, she followed Nature Boy into all this, with his ideology and whatnot, and therefore Nature Boy ended up playing her, right? And then the lady that was actually doing a commentary about it was saying that, this is what, see, ladies, this is why you should not follow these no good for nothing niggas, blah blah blah. And the thing is this, right? It's like the possibility of you falling for the wrong person always gonna be there. There's always gonna be that risk. So I get that part. But there's also this level of accountability that's missing on both parties. Like, I'm sure there were things that you didn't like about me at the beginning. There were things I didn't like about you at the beginning. There are still things I don't like about you, and there are still things you don't like about me.
In the beginning, we tend to have rose-colored glasses on and pretend that it's okay.
Yeah. So then, like, with each passing moment, there's always gonna be that layer that we remove about each other and expose our core self. And I feel like because of there's this lack of culture in the West, and there's this whole, like, everybody out for themselves.
Yeah.
So the relationships start off on the wrong foot, start off with manipulation, but it never cleared the air, because by the time it's ready to actually clear the air, to actually sniff out all the bullshit, then the person, or rather actually, they rather break up and go with the next person than having to face their true selves, the ugliness about them, the good, the bad, the evil, and all that shit.
One thing I noticed Americans have a problem with, whatever color they are. The one thing I noticed Americans have a problem with is coming face to face with their ugly.
Like,
they have a big, hard problem admitting where they done fucked up. Apologizing doesn't occur.
Yeah, like I was talking to El Nigma once, and then he was saying, like, dude, some people, like some chicks, would just break up with you, never talk to you again, in order to actually avoid facing some of the bullshit that she pulled on you. and vice versa as well.
I was
Some
just about to say, a lot of men do that too.
So like some guys will also do that too. Let's say that they play this chick like a fucking violin, right? And then once the girl found out, so it's more like, well, so I'm gonna have to go through hell because I got caught cheating. So fuck it, I'm gonna dump this bitch and start over.
This is where my concept of if you want a lady, you have to be a gentleman comes in.
So
like I say, a lot of men want to, especially African American men, but a lot of men want to have a good girl, quote in quotes, a good girl because they can manipulate her and they can go behind her back. They don't want a good girl. Okay, see, this is where the definition changes. You don't want a good girl. You want a naive girl. One that can be played and not know the difference. And that's not good. That's not healthy for you, nor is it healthy for her, because you're constantly accumulating karma, whether you believe it or not. And things are going to come back to haunt you. Whether it's, your mind always wants to perceive truth. It's this need for illusion that fucks us up. And then we wonder why there's so much mental illness in the world. It's because, especially in the West, if you notice, a lot of mental illness is occurring in the West. It's because you do not want to face the truth. You want to live in your delusion, and you want the world to live in your delusion. Otherwise, they're hating. And that's wrong. Your mind is going to snap. You are fucking up your psyche.
Well, hence this huge pharmaceutical market in the West.
The epidemic, yeah, especially in the psychotropes. Yeah. When it comes to psychotropic drugs and just drugs in general, to escape reality, but you're not escaping reality. You're escaping your mind trying to show you reality.
Which is that's a whole another subject.
A whole another rabbit hole right there. That's a worthy podcast, to be honest. That is that always intrigues me, how people have no problem deluding themselves, and they hate people when they try to make them face the truth.
Yeah. All right, well, this podcast is gonna be finished in a few minutes, but before you go, I need to address one criticism about you that has been made about you, SyriEyes.
Oh shit. Okay, what?
Yeah, the criticism is that you don't sound white enough. So, would you please?
I've noticed that a lot. Okay.
So, would you please do an impression of what a white girl would sound like? Let's
expectations of what people expect from me. Oh my God.
What people expect the voice of a white girl.
Well, I need to. I really don't have an opinion of my own. But because I'm stupid, I really don't know anything. But I can tell you everything there is to know about famous people, because that's all I do is sit all day and listen to music and watch TVs and watch reality TV. And I can't deal with that shit. How can we possibly use our minds for anything besides stupidity, As a white girl, I'm not supposed to have a thinking brain. Hello. I can't talk like that. I can't. Anytime I hear someone talk like that to me, I kind of want to just. I want to just take a sandal and throw it at them.
Well, it's like this. Okay, we all have this fantasy, right? This ideology.
I can't spend 10 minutes talking to someone who talks like that. How could someone want to spend 30 years living next to that?
Well, see, this is the thing, right? It's like everybody have this idea of what a person should be like, what a black person should behave like, what a white person should behave like, and it's like once you skip all these steps, right? Like when you that close-minded, you actually miss so much about that person that you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many girls wouldn't actually talk to me because I wasn't black enough? Or it's like, let's say that you did not fit the mold of the stereotypical white girl. So then therefore white Americans will look at you like, okay, this girl, she doesn't sound white. You know, she doesn't sound preppy enough, or from the valley and all that stuff. So it's like, it's freaking hilarious when that occur. And
Yeah,
it's,
you break the box.
yeah,
You, you
you
break
don't
the
fit.
system in your brain function.
Mhm. But anyway, so
I hate it. I just I don't understand it. It's like okay, so I don't fit the mold. Okay, I don't fit the mold. I don't fit the box. I don't match the label that you decided to put on. But then again, I don't call myself white. I never called myself white. I consider you referring to me as my skin color, which I have zero control over, as an insult. So, you know, whenever anybody used to say, "Oh, you know, you're white," or "because you're white," or anytime they refer to me as white, I would just correct them and say, "No, I'm not white. I'm Polish." The reason I say that is because if you really look at my skin color and compare me to the color white, I don't know where the hell y'all get that color from.
well, that part is easy. That part is based on, look, race. Okay, skin tone has a lot to do with the culture in the West, the culture in the
Yeah,
States.
I think that's a whole another topic because we could talk 30 minutes about that alone.
That is a whole other topic. Like foreigners, we look at where you're from as far as nationality. That's what we focus on.
Yes, I mean, if we're going to mention appearance, like in Poland, you know, when someone's called black, they're not referring to the skin tone; they're referring to the hair color.
Yeah, they're referring to the hair, you know, charne, or they refer to you know, brunetka or ruja,
Blondinka.
blondenka. So yeah, but it's that's okay. This is the thing as well, right? Okay, some of the argument is that, like, you know, African American or America per se don't have a culture. But yet, if America don't have a culture, so then wouldn't you at least now be able to? You shouldn't you at least now listen to the opinion of all the culture? You know, those who already have the experience, those who already have a culture. So,
America does have a culture. The problem is a lot of it is destructive.
mm, but I know that they know that. But the thing about it though is, like, it's the say of, well, we don't have a culture, so then therefore that's why we act up that way. But when other
I
cultures,
see that you're shaping your culture. It took. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Do you mind? It,
no, hold on a second. Let me finish this point. So
okay.
when other cultures now point that out, where you fucking up and all that shit, so then it's like you have to understand, like, okay, yes, that might bruise your ego, but what they're saying, does it have any validity? And if it does, then how can we actually change it to somewhat not imitate, but actually take the good out of all this different culture and create your own? So that's why I think that as foreigners, hell yeah, we should actually voice our opinion when it comes to American culture, because they have no problem voicing their opinion when it comes to ours.
Exactly. But see, oh, am I interrupting?
Go ahead.
Okay. Um, it took centuries for countries to shape their culture. And most of us in the beginning were fucked up. Just look through history. We were fucked up. Doesn't matter what country you go to. If you go down the history far enough, it's a whole lot of killing, a whole lot of shitting, and a whole lot of fucked up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And America is new. I mean, it had its culture with the Native Americans that got screwed the hell up. That it began with destruction, right? So right now, it's you have you have a role to play, whether you choose to play it or not, whether you consider yourself part of it or not. You are American. Period. Point blank. Whatever you do, okay, contributes to the culture that will be there 100 years from now. It's your choice how you wish to contribute, but you contribute regardless, whether you see it as contribution or not. It's up to you, okay, to make that contribution productive or destructive. That's the only choice you have, because you don't choose the contribution unless you want to leave. If you want to leave, then of course, then you go and find a culture that you feel most suits your personality and your character, and you go there, and then you just contribute there. But you're always contributing regardless of whether you see yourself contributing or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's expected for a culture in its first stages to be quite destructive, because it's like a child. When you see a 2-year-old child, what do? They eat, they use the toilet, and they break shit, because that's how they learn. Now, when other foreigners are speaking to you, they're speaking to you as an adult to a child. Okay, we're not saying you're the child, but your culture is a child. Okay, so when you have someone whose culture is 1,000 years old and they're talking to you, they're talking through experience from experience. They're not saying do this or you're going to fail. They're simply saying, well, that's what we do. Now, whether you want to take that advice or not is on you, but you cannot stop them from providing it. You cannot stop them from sharing an opinion on it. But you can turn it off. You can walk away and do your own. But if you wanna spend your life blaming others, then you have to listen to others. Otherwise, you're doing your own shit, but putting off the accountability on somebody else's hands, and that's wrong.
Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I think that is the end of our podcast.
All right.
All right. So it's Art Banaka, and this is the lovely SyriEyes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So where can we find you, SyriEyes? I know you don't have your own channel on YouTube.
No, you can find me on Twitter.
All right. So SyriEyes Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, what about Instagram? You don't want? Oh, you shut down your Instagram, didn't you?
Instagram, but I don't use it. I'm not into Instagram, to be honest. I have a Facebook, but that's mostly for my family and friends.
Yeah.
So the place to find me the fastest is Twitter. Definitely, I'm quite active on Twitter.
All right. And that's being said. Oh, and by the way, so I also need to actually this book right here called The Summoners.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put this book down. I gotta send it to Rose. I gotta send you a whole bunch of the whole series. I gotta send it to you guys. So
you don't have to buy the whole series. Just buy one book, read it, send it. Buy another book, read it, send it.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, and overall, you're gonna receive the whole thing. I'm gonna keep sending it to you. I'm still waiting for a book that I ordered for from Erica. I want to send it to you because I know you've been asking for it.
Yes, about time.
Yeah, I know, right? So I ordered it on Amazon. So I'm waiting for it. But right now I'm actually so yeah, if you guys haven't seen me online for the past few days, I've been stuck reading this book. Like I would wake up, you know, and I just like it's freaking fun, man. I miss reading. I used to love doing that all the time, but when you don't have the time to do it, it's frustrating.
You know the best time to read?
It's nighttime.
I was going to say on the throne, but okay. I always have a book in the bathroom available, especially if you have children. Have a book in the bathroom available, and don't let them take a phone in. You'll see how quickly they start enjoying to read.
Oh man, it's like I remember we used to have like 200 to 300 books in England.
Mm-hmm.
And then
wherever we're at, we build a library. So
yeah. All right.
Somebody else is benefiting from it.
I would say, you know, whoever you are, read. You know, do you have no idea? Like the whole world open up to you. Like you get to use your imagination to the point where you get better at describing certain scenarios and in a more poetic sort of way. You know, and if you want to become a writer, if you want to have the ability to express yourself via your blog or whatever the case may be, read.
About books is it also helps you open up your mind to other possibilities. Therefore, when you're listening to people speak, you're not instantly judging them based on your original idea.
Yeah.
Actually listening to what they have to say and taking it in.
All right. Well, with that being said, so if you ever go to a bookstore, check out The Summoners. Right now, I'm on the novice.
But if someone's interested, likes that genre of books, not everybody likes that genre.
Exactly, and it's a fantasy type novel, you know, with magic and fiction. So the name of the author is Taran Mataru. You know what? I'll leave it in the description box or anything like that. All right. So with that being said, I'm out of here, guys. Take care. Share, like, comment, subscribe, and yes, especially if you disagree about what we've been talking about, I want to hear your opinion. Don't let us get.
Yeah, not an attack, right? If you're going to start attacking how people look, your opinion becomes invalidated.
Yeah. Well, as soon as that happened, then you know that they actually, you know, they lack the intellectual to defend what they're saying. But if you have genuine points and critiques or whatever the case may be, come at us, man.
Yeah, we love reading that stuff.
We always read our comment section. So yeah. All right. So would you like to say anything else before we bounce?
No, that's it for now.
All right. So
It's been a pleasure. It's about as much.
sweet. All right, guys. We out of here. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye. Mwah. Bye, babe.
Bye, baby.